everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woo! That was my
Oh, we
witchy
get to go on.
version of it. Woo!
Oh my, we aren't in Kansas anymore, Auntie Em, are we? If you've ever wanted more happiness and fun in your life, even in the midst of radical transformation and letting go, then do we have the Find Your Happy show for you. Today we'll talk about finding happiness, intending happiness, and literally building it into your life, even when the world's flipped upside down and changing before your very eyes. That plus we'll talk about college madness, Castle Rock, last names, name change, the other Durham, getting out of town, bike rides in the rain, sage sprays, magical guests, praying mantis, sweeping driveways, and a giant wall of stink. Oh God. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. Okay, so I think with that little stink, I'm gonna spray this can of joy, angelic blessing.
We were thinking of you. We were at a farmer's market last weekend because we are forcing ourselves to get out of town and explore. And
Yes.
so we are at a farmer's market, and this woman there who spends part of her year on Leilani spends part of her year on Maui, part of her year here by Emerald Isle. It's pretty special, and she makes sprays like that. And
Ah.
so we had just been doing some sage clearings in the house, and we had on guests talking about crystals and clearings. And so
Mm.
Jessica saw this beautiful clearing spray. It's kind of like liquid sage. It's supposed
Yeah, I've
to,
seen that.
purify and cleanse. And so we bought that spray while thinking of you. Um,
Oh, that's nice. I like that
the
sage spray. I've had because some people can't. Do you do that? Did you get that because you can't light matches in the house because it's a smoke-free house?
we did that specifically because when we would smoke the house, we couldn't get the windows open enough with the kitty cats
Oh,
to get all of the smoke out. So some of it lingers. And so
oh,
Jessica's like, well, why don't we try, this little spray? Somebody comes over, we need it for
oh,
whatever reason, spritz, 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 whatever, and just get a good little cleansing in the house.
oh, nice. Did it work? Does it feel good?
And then we went home, which segues to the giant wall of stink.
I can't wait to hear this.
We walk in the house. It'd been raining quite a bit out, and there is, as the realtors call it, this beautiful home we're staying in. We're renting it. It's for sale,
Oh, it is for
and
sale?
which
Wow.
it's for sale, which is why we have in kind of the sage and stuff is we have so many frequent guests coming over to look at the house, lots
Oh,
and lots of showings, and so you do a little sage and stuff afterwards, and we
yeah.
got this, but as one realtor put it, this house had ponding in front of it when it rains. It's it's
What?
it's a little bit low.
Oh.
And so the euphemism that a realtor said, rather than saying the front yard fills with water, is they say that it gets ponding. And and so we came home and there was ponding in the yard.
Oh,
And,
gosh.
and we walk in the house and we open the front door. And apparently something happened to the septic system with the rain.
Oh,
And we
no.
were hit in the face with the best way I did to describe it to I think the septic guy was dead and decaying bodies, compost, poop, and that was the gentlest smell that we got out of the house. And Jessica holds up this spray bottle and goes, "You got to be kidding me! This little thing."
Okay.
Try
Seriously,
running a
that.
show with that, CJ.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. That's awful.
So
So how do you
Well, we
what
got we got
happened?
we got somebody in on Monday. We don't know. They pumped the thing out. They're not sure that that took care of it. It rained earlier today. So far, we're good. But for the weekend, we were like hanging out windows more or less. we're doing what we can. We got the doors, the bathroom doors sealed off and closed. And hopefully that took care of everything. It's a beautiful house. It just it had a bit of a poo-poo problem this weekend.
Wow.
So
Oh
and
my
it definitely
goodness.
it affected Jessica with her molding from a few years ago,
Oh no.
because the air that comes out from a septic system vents mold and all sorts of stuff in it. And so it was like, get her out of the house as much as we can. What can we do? Her nervous system is on high. And again, she's looking at the sage
Do you
spray
guys
going,
have camping stuff? Can you just camp out for a little bit until the
we're good
everything goes?
now. We're good now. So it was a rough weekend. Monday morning, they got the thing pumped out, and it has been almost clear as a whistle. We're still keeping the bathrooms sealed off when we're not in them, but so far so good. So it's been
I don't even
much
understand what
better.
happens so that you get this ponding and the
So
ponding.
they're two separate things. It's just funny. So the ponding is the yard is sitting too low. And
Okay.
so water comes up in the yard, and you look at it and go, would that get into the house? I hope that doesn't get in the house. And you look at that and you're like, well, we got a good rain.
Right.
At the same time, maybe it was a vent to the septic system that got closed from heavy rain, or a bird's nest that got
Oh.
sucked into the pipe because of heavy rain. We thought maybe the septic system was full. It wasn't. So
Oh.
we don't know exactly what it was, because they emptied the septic system on Monday. They said it wasn't that, but they emptied it, and it hasn't returned fully. We got a little bit, but hasn't returned fully since. So it just meant a rather
So something about the
humorous.
connection from the septic tank from your house to your septic tank is
the
awry.
the septic tank does a I don't even know how they work, and hopefully this whole episode isn't about septic tank, but apparently there's methane gas that comes up in the eco decomposing of the stuff that goes down there,
Right.
and the gas was backing up into the house
I see. So it's just the smell.
and
So it
coming
wasn't
out
the
through all the
actual,
vents.
so it wasn't
No,
necessarily
no,
the
no, 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 no,
product.
no,
It
no.
was just the smell.
If the product was, we would be finding alternative solutions.
Right. No, it's just the smell that was backing up from somehow the venting. So there's a venting process. That's fascinating. Okay, but what does it all mean? Does it mean anything to you? Like, is this a mirror to what's happening in your life? Are you swimming in poo poo right now?
It's interesting because we did a whole show on it, so we really won't go there with you today fully. We did a show on it last week where we went to buy surfboards a couple weeks ago, and in the surfboard shop, a giant box of surfboards falls about 10 feet away from me, lands a row across, knocks stuff into the air, which required a trip to the hospital by Michael and a concussion. Um,
Oh,
so
Michael. Oh my goodness.
the equivalent of stitches, they use super glue these days.
Where are your
So that
stitches?
was one. I'm not sure if you can see now. So that it's just been removed. So I've got this line coming up here. Probably doesn't look bad at this point.
Yeah. You mean right in your forehead right here?
Yeah, right across there.
Wait, do it again.
Uh,
Oh,
behind
so
my eye,
it's near your eyebrow. Oh, I can barely see it. Wow, so did it hit
very.
you? They hit you that close to your eye?
Yeah,
Yikes.
yeah. And it split it open about an inch and a half in length, and I'm sitting down holding my head. The irony of it, though, is Jessica didn't want me surfing in the past because she was afraid I would get a concussion. And from bicycle racing, I've had concussions from, falling and cracking a helmet. And I got the concussion in the aisle.
Well, that's what she
And
was
you
trying to
go,
tell you. Don't go in
oh,
there.
goodness, what are you trying to tell me there? So that one was clear cut.
What is
Lion
all this
can
backing
respond.
decay of poo poo smell? What does it
I
mean?
don't know what that one means. That's a good question. There's a spiritual significance to everything, and I don't know what that one. I hadn't asked that question. Why didn't I? That's a good question.
Well, I'm just
Well,
curious. I mean, it's basically just a
but it's a
smell.
smell, and it's not the actual product. So maybe it's the bark is worse than the bite. I don't know.
I don't know. That's fascinating, but you're moving. You're moving. That's that. What? Tell me about your move. I'm trying to. I'm like a
So,
detective. I know there's some theme.
well, we had been talking about it during the week. We had been talking about, I don't even recall now, but there was some foreshadowing to this. Um, it's it's um, it's a lovely house, but they've had some trouble selling it. And so we were discussing that during the week. And so maybe this was a foreshadowing. I don't know exactly how. We're moving to just an incredible home. It's called a dome home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a multi-level home, tiered on the bottom, water with three directions all around it. Just this incredible home. And this is a beautiful home too. So
Who
don't
knows? Yeah.
know.
So it's a
So
foreshadowing. Isn't that funny? I
we thought
actually
maybe
had.
it was don't say anything. If you don't have anything amazing to say about your home, don't say anything. We
Right.
loved our home though. So we've seen maybe the nuances of why we don't believe that it's sold yet, which is good because we're renting it.
Right.
Um, but don't know.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like this trip. It is kind of like a foreshadowing. I've had this weird experience where I went to the counter. We checked into American Airlines, and
You've got to tell us what this trip was
okay. So
for
for
those who don't know.
so
And
this was
actually, you
a
haven't
call.
told me.
I
You
sorry.
kept it quiet. I assumed you were going to Duke, but you kept it quiet. You said, "I'll tell you when I get back."
Oh, sorry. No, there was no secret at all. We my so Jida, my eldest son, is going to Duke, and you have the lovely Duke Gardens behind you. Thank you. And it's also my alma mater, so I love Duke. And so he's leaving in, what did I say? He's leaving in 17 days. Yikes. So he's leaving Seattle in 17 days. But my youngest son, who's an incoming junior, is interested. So we're looking at colleges for my youngest son. And unlike my eldest son, who wanted a school that had 3,000 or more kids and maybe something that had a nice college town around it, my youngest son kind of seems to like the smaller schools. And so we thought, well, probably a liberal arts school in the Northeast. That's kind of where they're all clustered. So we went to Colgate and Hamilton and Colby and Middlebury, and you know the sort because you're from that area. So we went to visit those colleges. But so I get to the airport, and for whatever reason, I'm thinking, oh, I need to actually figure out if our frequent flyer numbers are on the tickets for my sons. And we go to the gate, and she's like, no, you don't have any frequent. I'm like, okay, fine. I feel like there's something, right? So I get to the gate and I get to TSA, and they look at my printed out ticket that says Mildred Liu, which is my maiden name, and they look at my current um, license that has my married name. I'm like, do you have proof that this is the same person? And it's like, well, no, not on me because I've been married for 20 years plus. Like I don't have any marriage certificate floating around. And so they almost didn't let me go through. And then I said, well, look, I have my email, I have my business card that has this. And so finally, I think the person just took mercy on me and then let me go through. But it was because my frequent flyer miles were under my maiden name, Lou, and my married name, and not under my married name. So this was the thing that kind of caused this whole issue. And I spent the entire trip probably about 3+ hours on the phone calling Expedia, who claimed that they weren't part of the problem. At all times, they were like, "I can help you solve the problem," and then said, "No, we're not part of the problem. It's American Airlines." And American Airlines, who's like, "It's the Expedia will tell you it's not them, but it's really." So you're in this kind of middle ground. And so finally, I was able to do the name change. I had to spend $200 for them to change my name on the ticket. So
Wow.
that is
What's
eventually what we had to
so what is
do.
the spiritual significance to that?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about it. Well, what I realized is that during the trip, the experience of being on the phone with Expedia was really getting under my skin, and I was not really enjoying the trip because I was trying to clear out what I thought was the worst case possible scenario, being stuck in Boston, without being able to travel with my family. And what was interesting is I thought, wow, I'm allowing this one potential outcome, which is the worst case potential, to, and I'm spending all this time trying to prevent this worst case potential from occurring. And at the same time, I'm not present during the time when I'm with my family. And I finally realized, like, you know what? I think I need to actually go to the worst case potential. And I thought, what is the worst case? Worst case is I can't get my name changed. My husband's going to have to fly back, get our marriage certificate, drive back to the airport, present it to American Airlines with me there, or send it to me and FedEx it. Then I will be able to finally get on the airplane. So I took myself all the way to the worst possible case. So what would that be? It'd be several nights in a hotel, maybe in Boston, as I waited for this marriage certificate. It could be my husband driving, like all the inconvenience. So all those things, I'm like, okay, like that's the worst case. No one's going to die. Nothing's going to happen. So I'm like, I'm resigned if this small probability occurs to have this be the worst case. And I release all thinking of this until the day arises, because I'm spending too much energy worrying about it, trying to prevent this worst case from happening. And so I dragged myself to the worst case. I convinced my worst case was actually not so bad because it didn't result in death.
It's not like they're going to lock you up.
Yeah, like nothing's going to happen, right? So I'm like, okay, it's just inconvenience and money, right? It's not great, but it's not awful. And what can you do? And then I just said, universe, it's up to you. You decide whether I go on the plane or not. You just decide. So we get to the airport, and I'm thinking, I need to go to American Airlines and tell them that I cannot, hear the problem. And then the solution, which was to pay $200, which I didn't, no one told me throughout the whole couple of weeks that there was even a solution aside. So I didn't even know that this solution existed. The agent's like, oh yeah, we can do it for $200. And I was
Why
like,
did you need to pay for $200 to do a name change though?
this is just, I asked that question. She's like, guess what you said? Ma'am, that's the policy. And I was like, are there no other ways? And she said, yeah, you could call Expedia. I'm like, no, thank you. I've just been through that for the
Here's the money.
Yeah. And I was like, I at this point would almost pay not to talk to Expedia again. Ever in my life. I actually, to the point where I don't know if I'm going to book with Expedia anymore. And we've booked a lot of stuff. It was so awful. Anyhow. So, but there was this intuition that's like, I think I'm going to go to the gate. Because I was trying to figure out, like, maybe let's see if I can just pass by TSA without them noticing. And then I thought, no, I think I need to go there. So luckily my intuition was right, and a solution appeared. It wasn't a great solution in the sense that it cost $200, but I'd already dragged myself through the worst case, which it cost several nights of hotels, which would have been $200, and my husband going to the airport, and me being stressed out, and my family being separated, that I thought, okay, $200 is okay. So I handed the money, then proceeded to scream at Expedia online because I refused to call them. And that was the end of it. But I think the spiritual significance is that I think we spend a lot of time, for me, some people like myself are apt to go to the very worst case, and the worst case, even when you drag yourself down there, is not that bad. And when you just face the possibility of the worst case and just say, well, this is one possibility out of a million possibilities that could happen at this point, and you just say, I accept whatever comes my way, Lord or God or, cheeseburger in the sky, as you say, I accept whatever is going to come, because whatever is going to come is going to be the best possible outcome for me. I don't know why, but I will accept whatever comes. And when you just surrender trying to make and control things from happening and preventing the worst cases from happening, stuff happens. It literally was an intuitive hit to go, okay, I better go talk to everything, including I kind of was a little bit off about talking to about the frequent flyer. It was my frequent flyer models, but I kind of knew intuitively that something was amiss, but I was just a little bit off. So yeah, so I guess that's my spiritual lesson, that it's okay. It's now a new thing that I'm trying to put myself through when I start worrying, going, what are you worrying about? Okay, what's the worst case going to happen? if this worst case happens, does it result in death? Okay, yes, you lose money, you have debt, you lose money, it's an inconvenience, but like, so what? Maybe something wonderful is going to happen while you're in Boston waiting for your husband to give you, like, you just don't know. You have to release thinking that you know better. And so that was my solution. Well, how did you make yourself happy amidst the poo poo smell in your house? How did you find happiness?
A lot of trips out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
We were even more social than usual. We had, friends bringing us over for dinner and stuff. And so I used it as an opportunity to step back from my work. It's something that I've been really working hard. The reason I'm calling it Find Your Happy this week is I got out 4 times this week to do non-exercise related activities. That for me is huge because I do a
Oh,
lot of work
right.
this
That's
show.
interesting. Yeah.
And so to get myself out for 4 social engagements, to me that's like hallelujah. And
Yeah.
and multiple ones of those took place while the house was, passing gas.
Right.
So it helped me to have more fun. And so
Oh.
certainly I could say, okay, this stinks. Yeah, it does, but that's okay. So we wanted to make sure kitties had fresh air. That was like the number one and number 10 concern
Right.
is can we make sure that the kitties are fine?
Mm-hmm.
Because methane is and whatever's in the air isn't for any creature to be smelling. Um, but other than that, it's not let's not just make the best of it, but let's turn it into something fun.
Right.
And so we took those opportunities, and I think it was a real bonding experience, and it just is as it is,
So that's
and
when you
that's
say
that.
getting out of town, that's the thing that you were able to do.
Well, we got out of town. Actually, that's interesting because we had gotten out of town before the stink came. We
Hmm.
had taken the day to go out of town, get a bike ride out of town. It rained on me, the most glorious rain right at the finish of this ride as I'm exploring the Outer Banks of North
Mm.
Carolina. And it was just a phenomenal ride. And that was another example. Instead of going, I was supposed to go on a group ride. The group ride had been canceled because of rain. Instead, I got
Oh.
out by myself. It was glorious. And the fact
Mm.
that it rained a bit was perfect. These things that
Mm.
are supposed to be negatives, like you're saying, if you breathe into the experience, no, not the septic smell, but
I know. It's like, wait a second, arms of the angels.
it can be
Yes.
really fun. So we got ourselves out of town and we enjoyed, and we're going to try to do that like once a week right now because one of our big goals for the summer is not to miss the summer. What we
Mm.
mean by that is if you're doing, the days go by so quickly. Like I'll do my coaching on Tuesday evening, I'll blink my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm coaching the same people again. And I go, where did the week go? When you get out of town, when you get some geography between you and your home, your sense of time changes. For
Absolutely.
example, you flew to the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet it was a time warp where it seemed like days or weeks ago
It
since you'd
does.
been home.
Yeah, it was. And like when we go on it, I feel like it takes the first day and then the second day, and then there's a multiplier by three. Like we've been gone for 2 days, but it feels like six. Why? Because we've been driving, we've gone to this new restaurant, we've met these new people, like the number of new things that happen and the new people that you interconnect and the scenery and things that you do is so dramatically different moment for moment that it feels like way more time has passed than it actually has. Because normally we get into our routines, like you said, you go do coaching on Tuesdays and then you do, your bike ride or, you have all these things that are kind of hard baked into your routine. And I love routine and structure. But it's adding the kind of mysterious, joyful kind of things, right? Like riding in the rain or having dinner with friends, which you probably haven't done in a while, right? So it's all those kinds of things that are enriching pieces you that make time expand, I think.
Yeah, and so we're going to try once a week. First off, we're going to be more social, and
Hmm.
and that's taken some work to build that into my calendar. It's only
Yeah.
been the last couple weeks that I've been able to block off time to be me again. And I'm like, we went gangbusters when we got here. Now let's see what we can do to consolidate
Right.
and be really intentional with our time. So I did that, and it's so good for the heart. In fact, we've had some amazing guests on. I don't want to segue yet, but we did have, we'll talk about it in Bruce Lipton on. And one of the things that Bruce was talking about is that uh, the number one killer isn't stress. The number one killer is social isolationism,
Mm,
is being isolated from friends, from people who you can bond with and feel like they've got your back. And so
mm,
getting out there with others is so important. So we took the time with that, but also just that getting out of town builds space. And so we're going to do that once a week moving forward, at least for a little while, because I think it like you're saying, there's a multiplier effect, and it changes your whole clock. And I think makes you more present so that your life, you don't go blink and it's passed you by.
right. Right. Especially during a summer, I think what one of the great things about having kids is that they're on a summer vacation. And so what happens for me at least is that I just feel like, well, I'm on a summer vacation. Why wouldn't I
Yeah.
be taking a summer vacation with them? So things that I wouldn't normally do, like normally I'm like, eating cereal and then I'm like eating like leftovers from the refrigerator or cooking a quick meal and I'm just like processing things. I'm like, hey, let's go out, let's go do something, because they're there and I figured, well, why not? So we go out and do things way more because they're at home. So just the presence of them not being at school and being home changes our whole dynamic. I mean, one of the beautiful things that happens with kids is that you end up snapping to their lifestyle because they're there, and they're in your house and I work at home. So my whole summer is off, really.
So what if we could take part of that and carry that the rest of the year, where we take ourselves out, even if the kids aren't there? What if we don't need an excuse, but try to live that way 365?
Yeah, I love that idea. I hadn't thought about what I have been thinking about. I know I've mentioned this so many times, but the whole idea of recapitulation of taking what is it that I love about this time in our life is the family era. One of the things I love is that kids help you become way more present and to take breaks during the year. But why can't now it's like me without kids, empty nesting. Why can't I also do that here? Why can't I do that plus have the benefits of having our kids older, like take off for a weekend, which I would never have done here, but that here I'm like, I can do. And in fact, when I was in my family era, I felt like I couldn't, but I could anyways, but it's somehow snapping into this future reality of empty nesting has allowed me to see all the possibilities that, in fact, existed when I had kids, but I didn't see. Does that make sense? So it's almost,
Oh, it makes perfect sense, because
it's
we're so in the go, 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 we don't give ourselves permission.
right to do the recapitulation. What do I like about what's happened in my life in the past that I want to carry forward, and give myself the permission to take the summer off, or I just would never have done that. And it sounds so stupid, but I think a lot of people, like you said, they don't give themselves permission. But you having said that, now I think, yeah, why wouldn't I take that vacation mindset and just flip it into I don't have to have the kids here to do that. I can still do that without them here. But there's a whole bunch of things as I'm now moving to a different stage in my life were things I want to carry forward from having kids. And then being really present because I'm not sure having as parents at least how I feel is that as parents, you're there as a witness. I think of it as when you're a little kid and you have like a little seed that you plant in a Dixie cup and you watch every day, like you monitor on in the scientific experiment. Day one, don't see anything. Day two, saw a little green sprout. Day three, and you watch and you witness this like little seed that you planted growing, growing, growing into like whatever plant you planted in that science class. Parenthood is like that times like 18 years over the course of 18 years. You're watching this
One
little
hell of a petri
seed.
experiment.
Exactly, just grow and watch. And it is the best thing to observe ever because you know what the seed looked like, you knew what the little green sprout looked like, and then you see the big oak tree and you're like, I saw like the whole thing from the little sprout to the oak tree. And it's pretty freaking amazing, to actually just be able to witness life itself evolving and changing in your child. I mean, not that my child is a scientific experiment, but it has that same kind of explorative, fascinating, interesting, fun aspect. And I'm not sure how I'm going to replicate that from the past to the future, but I think that it makes you really present. It makes you really present because you know how they talk about in spiritual texts about being a witness, where you kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
pull yourself out and you're a witness. You're truly a witness for that person's life. And in a lot of ways, I think that's, for me, that's at least one of the roles that I play with my kids. I'm witnessing their lives. They're sitting there like the little sprout growing into an oak tree, and I'm just witnessing and watching and reminding them what it was like when they were a little sprout and that there's still that sprout. You know what I mean? Like there's the seed is still the same, that their essence is still the same.
Jessica and
So,
I were taking. Oh, didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
Jessica and I were taking a walk on the beach earlier this week, and I was asking, based on the stink fest, I said, basically what you're saying is you were saying, what am I going to witness now? And I think it's get to witness ourselves. We're
Mm,
walking down the beach, and I'm recalling back on Maui when she was sick, and we did a whole bunch of things that in hindsight we could have done a lot differently. No coulda, woulda, shoulda, but we weren't fully present because we were in the muck and the mire of her being sick, me being
hmm
injured, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. But I was asking, all right, we're in the stink right now. And I did ask, not the spiritual significance. I said, are we being present right now with our lives? Are we stepping back and looking big picture, as you're saying, as the observer of our lives? Is there anything we're missing or we're not being present? Or when we look back at ourselves, I guess the Petri experiment of us, is there anything that we would have felt is off track?
mm.
And so we took that time to do that witnessing. I guess I hadn't thought about that. That's a big thing that we got out of the stink, because once you get both smacked upside the head in the store.
That is just unbelievable that you got a concussion from a box of soap.
No, it was some baskety things that were, I guess, had mass when they're all stuck one basket into the next, and the surfboards fell over, and it was like out of a cartoon. I didn't see it coming. I'm looking straight in front of me. Jessica's yelling, "Look out, Michael!" It's not in my peripheral because what fell wasn't close to me,
Right.
but it went across and then slingshotted this thing or catapulted it back across my face. And I'm sitting down on the ground, holding my head, wondering to myself, did I do something wrong? Meaning on a spiritual level, did I do something to deserve this? Jessica's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm just sitting on the floor, and I take my hand away, and there's all this blood, and
Oh God.
I'm like, "I don't feel so good."
Oh my God.
But that makes you step back
Right.
and go, okay, clearly there's a sign here about surfing, and clearly there's some sort of septic sign here too. Am I missing something?
Right.
And I think it's so important that we continuously step back, not drive with a rear view mirror, tear off that rear view mirror, but look at your life now in this moment and say, am I on track? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Are there signals that I'm getting from the universe? Michael probably don't surf, that I'm not listening to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you get to be the observer of you now.
I like that idea of, I've been witnessing my children, and I have been, and what's interesting is it's an intertwined process, right? Like I've been writing about this whole anticipatory phobia of my son leaving, or anticipatory sadness, I would say. It's not a
And you do
fear.
remember a few months ago on the show where you talked about you went through, I don't know if it was a meditative process or something that left you feeling better, like you were planting some programming that you were actually going to feel good. I guess it'll depend whether you choose to allow yourself to, but that you were going to feel good afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's I'm feeling neutral. I can't say that I'm feeling good. Like I know what the languaging is about feeling good about it. I think what I remember telling you about is that I look back and there's this halo effect. Like I look back at my whole parenting experience and it feels like these Kodak moments of beautiful. And I'm like, wait a second. It was a great, like, the trajectory overall was positive and up. But there are certainly hard times, and I struggled, but somehow I had this like delusional filter over the past. Like, this is the thing that I'm yearning for, and that I wasn't necessarily looking towards the future with anticipation and excitement. But now I actually am because things are opening up and I don't know, I think once you say, I surrender my life to God, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, and you say, I am your servant, I surrender and ask you to lead me in the way that is of the highest good for all, right? You do something like that, things just appear. So I'm asked to do 2 workshops and I'm doing another workshop. I mean, these things appearing, and I just met right before we met with a gal and we're saying, um, I had a walk with my husband. We were talking about this next workshop that I'm doing, and really what I'm realizing that I'm focusing on is creating a team culture or a corporate culture, and that it's about creating, it's like the personality of an organization and how you create and make that whole. And just like with individual coaching, once you get a sense of what you want as a person and where you want to go, it's all about aligning your life to make that happen. The same thing happens with the team. It's just that you have a composite of individuals that create an organization. And like with an organization, it's like, what do you want? How do you stay accountable for it? How are you going to stick together and link arms and move forward? And so that's the new thing that my husband said, I think that's my vision of what you should be doing. And it's happening. Like it's just happening. Life is doing me. I'm getting these opportunities to do these workshops, and it's just life is doing me. They're saying, do you want to do a workshop to do this team culture? And I say yes. And I don't even know what I'm going to teach. I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about. I have never done this work, but I'm still saying yes. So,
I like it.
so I met with this gal just right before, her phone call, and she does cross-cultural stuff. She works in Hong Kong, and she helps cross-cultural teams work together. And I love her work, and I really love her too. And I thought, well, I really want to help her out. I just met her in this class in shamanism, and in my head in that class, I heard, talk to her, meet her, talk to her, meet her. Something is supposed to happen. So I talked to her and I met her, and then we decided to get together. I'm like, let's get together sometime. And then we've gotten together, and she's fantastic. And so this is maybe the 3rd time I've met her. And I wanted to help her promote her work. And then I thought, wait a second, I think I want to do this work with you. And then we're like, well, I hadn't even thought about that. So this would be really fun because I'm talking about creating culture. You're just as a variant of cross culture, like it's culture, right? It's the focus. And I said, and I said, yeah, I don't know. I said, what I really want to do is do like shamanism and things like that. And like, let's do our work together and then we'll do shamanism on the side. And she's like, why don't we do our work and have shamanism and spirituality be part of the work that we bring to corporations? And I said, oh my God, I would love to do that with you. Because then all of a sudden the work feels fun and it's integrating all parts of my life. So that's what, I don't know, that's what's coming up. And I don't know how it's going to emerge. I'm not sure if it's going to emerge. It's just things are emerging regardless of me doing anything. I mean, I met with her because she said, let's get together. And I'm like, yeah. And so anyways, it's really fun. It's fun. I don't know how we got here, but I think it's finding, when you talked about the past and the future, like I'm getting excited. And she's like, well, you could do stuff in Hong Kong with me and I can do stuff with you in here. And it's like, maybe we could do this internationally. I'm like, that would be really fun. Like all of a sudden.
And you will have the space to do that.
Yes. Like all of a sudden, like this whole possible world, who knows if it's going to manifest and how it's going to manifest, or even if anything's going to manifest, but just the possibility of that being out there was like, that's exciting. So I am getting excited a little bit about it.
while you're talking, I ended up running math calculation in my head
Yes. Yes.
because 17 days from now
Yes.
is a very special day. I don't fully know the significance of it. We're going to have an amazing guest on Wednesday to talk about it, but that's the 21st, if I understand right.
Mm-hmm.
And the 21st is like the only full solar eclipse here, at least in this part of the world, and certainly in Durham for many, many, many years to come.
Wow.
And the last one was 1979.
Wow. Oh.
So there is some major spiritual significance and energies of
Hmm.
a solar eclipse as a time of powerful change and transformation.
Oh, wow.
And that is exactly when the shift for you guys is occurring.
Wow. I love that. Oh, I wonder where we can go. I know I've been seeing like in the parenting group at Durham that people have mentioned it, but I haven't really tuned in, I haven't locked into that one
This is huge.
aspect. But yeah. Oh, that's a
So you
really
have you
nice.
have to watch it, and it is so special when you talk about getting excited for the future. Talk about we'll call it revolving doors. There's no doors closing,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going through a doorway to your new future as
Mm-hmm.
well. Both of you are stepping forward. It's not just him stepping forward and you going, "For me, woe is me."
Right.
This is stepping into the new CJ.
Yeah.
And what's the new hat you're going to get to wear?
Yeah.
And though I don't claim to have almost any understanding of astrology yet, I want to learn a bunch of this stuff. I know that these things are real and
Mm-hmm.
that there's powerful energies behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is a significant, significant shift. And
Oh,
so,
I can't
what
wait to.
perfect timing.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to hear the program on the person that. When are you interviewing them? Are you going to interview them on the 21st?
I'm going to interview him on Wednesday, and then we're going to try to
This coming
um,
Wednesday? Okay.
this coming Wednesday, crash him into the lineup because I'm like, this is too important. This is
Oh,
too
will you send
important.
me
I want to
the
see how
link?
fast we can get him in. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. Oh, oh, that's so exciting. I love that. And I actually do think that it's like there are these cycles that are happening.
Mhm.
As I said to my son, I said, you know what's so weird is I'm at the age where I'm becoming more childlike. Because what happens
Awesome.
is once you have a kid, you become so unbelievable responsible and you become so adult like. It is the pinnacle of your adultness and your responsibility when you have family. And then you become like your childlike essence just is like this shadow. And then once the kids get, you start becoming more kid-like because you're playing with your kids. So you're putting on Mickey Mouse ears and you're jumping up and down like a frog or whatever you start
Perfect.
becoming. So like you're somehow going into their world, becoming more childlike, and they're becoming and helping them become more adult-like. And I said, it's really weird, Jida. This is the name of my son. I said it you're becoming more adult. I'm launching you off and I'm expecting you to become an adult, be responsible for these things, all these kind of things. And I'm in turn becoming less responsible, right? Because you're going and I don't have to think about taking care of you or I could just do whatever I want, travel, whatever. And so I'm becoming more childlike where you're becoming more adult like. And you're becoming kind of more wise and maybe the kind of hard realities of life because you don't have the shield of your family happens and you learn about life good and bad and then I'm actually trying to return to innocence, like pretend none of this stuff even happened, and how do I see things like he saw things when he was 5. So it's this interesting cycle that we go through. So he's on one path, like it's like a wave, like he's going through one wave and I'm on another wave going through this other transition, right? But I don't know, it's so interesting and in the beginning I was his lifeline, where like literally his lifeline. And now Like, and he didn't want to be separated from me. Like he was, when he was born, he was just crying and yelling and screaming bloody murder. And like, I could never leave him before him crying for like 2 seconds. Like I'd leave him for 2 seconds, he'd cry. And so I was just attached to him all the time. And now it's me crying. I never want to leave him. Like it's just a cycle. It's funny. There's something beautiful and funny about this whole transition because we're swapping roles. You know, he's more like the adult that I'm more childlike, clinging on to his back shirt, please don't go. Don't leave me yet. When little kids do that. Yeah, I don't know. There's something very fascinating about this cycle.
I look forward to seeing the next part of the cycle, which is to be more childlike, not childish.
Yeah.
But when the responsible thing to do is bring more of the happiness, bring more
Yeah.
of the fun, bring more of the play back into your life that maybe you said, I don't have permission to play right now. I have to be responsible. Although maybe there's a way to be responsible by playing, and that's your next responsibility is
Yeah.
how much can I raise my frequency? You're talking about it, bringing shamanism into the workplace. If there's not a clear indication of bringing play into
Right.
what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's going back to what you said before. We just don't give ourselves permission to do it, right? Somehow like, oh, I don't have enough time to go have dinner with friends, or I don't have enough time to, I mean, until the stink rises and you're like, you have to leave. Like, I
And I
think it's giving
catch myself
permission.
whenever I hear I don't have enough time,
Hmm.
I stop myself about halfway through and I go, no, that was a prioritization, Michael.
Right.
You chose not to.
Yes, that's a
So
good way of thinking about it.
because I'm thinking right now as we're talking, of the way I have my clients scheduled is I don't have a really good date night with Jessica right now. And I said as soon as a particular day opens up, I am going to reserve that time moving forward for date night for Jessica and I, no matter what. That's going to be our find our happy. We're doing a lot of things, but I'm like, no, these are choices.
Yeah. One of the things that happens during this empty nesting stage is if you have not invested as a couple, what happens is you have kids and then it becomes like two CEO managers or whatever managing a organization and you start splitting apart. And I don't know why, but I kind of either someone told me I saw it or whatever, and I think it's a combination of all three. But when our kids are born, I said we're going on a date night. Like in the kid, I think our kids were maybe 2 weeks old or three. Like they were not barely born. I'm like, yeah, we're going on a date night. I know it's gonna be hard, and the baby's gonna be hungry, but I can, we have extra bottles in the refrigerator. No one's gonna die if we go on a date night, and so we have Wednesday nights were a religious date night every single Wednesday night. And then we added Wednesday to Saturday. And now it's Wednesday in the afternoons. We go for a walk every Wednesday morning. And every Sunday morning we go for a walk. And now we're adding more and more things as the kids are getting older. But it's really important to connect because there's so many other things. Like if you feel like the radio show is making you go like this, once you have a kid, there's like it's your jobs and then their activities and like the likelihood of you orbiting two separate lives gets really hard. Luckily, during this whole empty nesting thing, we're not going to have to try to figure out like, do we even have a nest together? Which I think oftentimes happens is that people grow so far apart because they're just two people administrating an organization that they're no longer in love. You know what I mean? So luckily we haven't lost that, but that's because we put from the very get-go, we're like, this is a priority. We're always going to choose this. And there was one time when I said, no, like this has to be the priority. And there are times when like, there are some Wednesdays we can't do it. And so we say, I can't do it on Wednesday, but let's do it on Tuesday. But
Mhm.
oftentimes I get people that want to see me on Wednesday. I'm like, no. No. But there's sometimes where it's like I've tried every other way and I can't, and those are the cases when we do change it. But then when we do, we always come up with a next date to make it happen. It has to be that much of a priority because if you don't, the drift happens so easily. There's just a lot of things to keep you drifted apart. So yeah, it's good that you're doing that. I'm just encouraging and applauding and imploring you to continue to do that because it's a ritual and it's an important one.
It's something that I guess I'm very lucky that it's something that I think about a lot. Maybe because it's coming through my automatic writing. Almost daily,
Mm,
I get in my automatic writing. Cherish Jessica Moore, and I do cherish her tremendously. Take even better care of her. Be even more loving. Put down the pen. Go give her a hug. And
mm,
so I'm continuously in a playful, joyous, almost kid-like manner. What can I do to add some fun to this in a meaningful way? We'll go after this. I hope she remembers, but if not, we'll go anyway. And we're going to grab her boogie board.
oh, fun. I
And
love
it's
the
going to
fact
be
that you do
Friday
that.
afternoon. We're going to go. She'll be boogie boarding. I'll be swimming around. I won't be on a board. But it's time, and she gets this joyous, childlike grin on her face. And yes, it's what more activities can we add in, but not just activities like going and doing something. We'll be like planning to go and do something. She'll be like, "Can we just stay home and have a little fun time together?" And I'll be
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, you got it." And she's like, "Yay!"
That's so
And
cute.
you're right. It is a choice.
It is
And
a
it's a
choice.
choice where you go, well, I'm building a business or I've got my this and that. And so I don't see, it's almost like maybe even particularly more on the guy side of things, maybe not, but the logical dollars and cents, I have to see how this adds up side of things. No, if you don't have the relationship and you're married to somebody, you don't have anything.
Right. Well, what's the purpose? Then you're just an organization that's together for financial gain or efficiency. Like then you're just like an organization, like a company. Like there's got to be some love or fun or something. Frankly,
And
I
you can
mean,
put it back in there if you're conscious about it. I believe most of the time there are certainly extenuating circumstances, but you can at least add some fun to it. Now, maybe they're going to be a party pooper, but you can certainly do what you can to raise your energy and bring it to the table.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Gideon and I, we still do like. I pull practical jokes on him all the time, and he does it. We have this little stuffed animal that we have that we hide, and that's one of our stupid things that we do.
Oh, I've got to hear more about this.
Or like there's this little there's this dog with these big blue eyes that I got, and we've been doing this for our whole family has been doing this since the kids were. We went to the Oregon coast, and mysteriously in the bush was this brown shoe, and we are like, "How did this brown shoe just appear out of nowhere? Like, how did this little baby shoe appear in the bush? We just had no idea." And then we looked. It was clear that no one owned this shoe, so I took the shoe and washed it, put it in the washer, and then I put the shoe in my son's pocket. Like so, he would get the laundry, and then he'd be like, "Wait a second, isn't that shoe?" And then he would take that shoe and then hide it in like my utensil drawer. Or like we'd have this shoe
I love
that
it.
we but then that emerged to little stuffed animals, the little tiny ones that you get at the drugstore. And so now I have it's
Which have
stuffed.
the platter eyes.
Yeah, I have three little animals that I hide in each of their in the house. So you never know. Like so, it may be like in their book bag. So they'd be in school and they'd be like they'd open up their book bag and this little thing would spring forward. Or like my husband. Sometimes I'm traveling and then I open up my suitcase and it's there.
I love it.
Yeah, so those are the kind of fun little stupid things that we do in our household.
Woohoo!
Yes. So happiness, going back to happiness, you can find happiness in the simplest things, frankly.
You can.
Yes. So how about you? Any other time things to add? I think we've talked about sage sprays, magical gas. Wait, praying mantis. What? We didn't
Praying
talk about.
mantis. Yeah. Well, we keep on having these animal experiences, and the latest one was a praying mantis that was on the mailbox, and we went over to praying mantis, and praying mantis I think would have hopped up on Jessica, but instead hopped up on me, climbed up onto my head again.
We're on your
uh,
head.
right in the center of the top of the head. No, not
Wow.
off by the the
Yeah.
eye.
It's like eating your
Um,
little scar tissue.
oh God. But praying mantis stay there for at least 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and they're a symbol of patience, of extreme patience and presence.
Mm,
And so I think it was a reminder from universe to be even more patient and present. And such a gift to have. Praying mantis is so, and we do have images that we haven't put on Facebook yet, but we can. It was so incredibly present. Like we're holding the camera in front of it, and praying mantis is looking at the lens, is sizing
mm,
it up. There's a reason it's like the little kung fu master in what is it, Kung Fu Panda. The praying
mm,
mantis is just watching you,
mm,
and it was so cool that it was, also like Ratatouille up on top of my head wanting to steer me.
mm. Wow, that's so cool. It seems like, yeah, it seems like there's the I totally lost my train of thought. I was trying to merge all those things together, but it does seem like the universe has this like message for you, and the thing that I'm getting is along the lines of, there is no good and bad. There's just life, Poo poo is arising. It's life. Poo poo arises in life. That's just what happens every now and then. If we don't try to make a story out of it, we don't try to control, manage, run away from it, and just say, like, poo poo
Or
is here.
dramatize.
Yeah, it's
Oh
like,
God, poor is me.
yeah, it's like poo poo is here. Open the windows. Go outside. Poo poo is arise. Or, this name change thing, was like,
That's poo poo
it
arising.
is totally poo poo arising, right? Poo poo is arising. I can go berserk, or I could just say, like, poo poo is arising. I can plan for poo poo arising in the worst case, and that's the worst case that's going to happen is that it's going to smell bad. Or, I'm going to be stuck here in Boston, No one's going to die. It's fine. Just poo poo arises. And when that poo poo arises, you get stronger, right? I mean, you you just
I'll get
learn.
one heck of a set of nose clips.
Yeah, well, you learn that even that is a beautiful lesson in, getting out of the house, right? Or about letting go or surrendering into the situation.
Appreciation.
Yeah, it's like it's, it's all good, right? You don't think poo poo rising is good, but it's all meant for our deepest wisdom learning growing.
Through you and for you, not to you.
Yeah.
It's always. We had on Bruce Lipton, amazing guest this week. We also had on Mike Dooley from The Secret,
Mm,
and that was one of the big takeaways in his book was just how if you can step back far enough, and that literally may be taking a step back even past your own lifetime
mm-hmm.
to realize that everything happens with more of a spiritual significance and something powerful, positive in it. It doesn't mean that there aren't real traumas and horrific things that happen, but if you step back far enough, everything on some level happens for the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amen to that. Any other final
Woohoo!
words?
I want to challenge everybody to play more. I know I do that a lot. Play more, get out to nature. Play. I don't have time to play. No, you don't have time not to play. How's the Taoist saying go? If you don't have time to meditate, meditate twice as long.
Right.
Because if you step back and take that play time, take that nature time, take that expansive time, you'll be more present, you'll be more productive, you'll be higher functioning, you'll have better ideas, relate better to people, you'll be happier, you'll get to stay on this planet Earth longer and be healthier in the process rather than decrepit and all worn out because you didn't take care of yourself. So play.
Okay, my last comment is that it's all connected, and I didn't have time to share it, so I'm going to share it now just quickly. So I just ran into my husband had a meeting with someone who's our contractor, Doug, and he said, "How was your trip?" And I said, "Great." And I said, "You're from that area, the East Coast?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm from Marblehead, Massachusetts." And I
Oh, I
said,
grew up next to Marblehead, Massachusetts.
You did? Okay, so
Yes.
I said, I love Marblehead, Massachusetts. In fact, in this last trip, we were going to drive through Marblehead, Massachusetts because there's this like incredible. I have this dream that is a recurrent dream, and it's a dream, and the picture in the dream is these big crashing waves against this gigantic rock, and he's like, "Oh, that's Castle Rock." And I said, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's Castle Rock and Marblehead." And I was like, "I've been searching for that scene for I don't know how many years because we have gone down to Boston like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, I desperately want to see that scene, but I didn't know where it was. I knew it was in Marblehead, but that's all I knew." And he said, "Yeah, it's Castle Rock. I used to meditate there, and I live a block away from that scene." Is that wild? And you lived near there too?
So 12 miles by bicycle. I think there's actually a closer way by car. So it was a town and a half over. So
Wow,
um,
so
I
beautiful.
one of my first jobs was in Marblehead. My grandma, my aunts lived in Marblehead. My grandmother lived on one side of Marblehead, and her early years on the other side of Marblehead, and her later years. So we were always in Marblehead.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird. So I just think that the synchronicity in life is there, right? For me to have been wondering all that time when I was in Boston, what was in Marblehead? I couldn't safely navigate my family there to know exactly where Marblehead it was, if it really existed, or if it was my dream, but it was there. And I think that there's just so much synchronicity and fun, and it's there all around us all the time. I mean, happiness and ways of engaging with others in ways that you don't even expect. If I hadn't said hello and spent the time to just chat with him, I would never have found the name of this place, and I would have never have known that you lived, 12 miles away, biking distance from Marblehead. It's just life is just a big circle, and it takes experiences like that to realize that. I think that's just I don't know. That was my another happy moment today. Many happy moments today.
We met
Woohoo!
a we met a gentleman on the Taos Pueblo in New Mexico many years ago, and he's a double Grammy award-winning musician. And he said that he called us there. It's a whole story behind that. His name is Robert Mirabal,
Hmm.
one of the most amazing flautists I have ever heard. You check out. There's an incredible video of him on YouTube making music and dance with John Tesh. It is incredible up on this mesa in Utah, unbelievable. And he said, I live, meaning himself, I live in a magical world. We all live in that magical world if we do what you just did and took that time, that pause, and that ask. You were present, and the miracles are there, and you get to see how they all connect,
Hmm.
and your jaw just hits the floor.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I got to tell you, it's weird because I thought I wonder if more before mentioning this Marblehead thing, I wonder if Michael's from there because I know you're from Massachusetts, but I never knew where. It's just
Danvers,
so.
Massachusetts, which is Salem many years ago was part of Danvers a long time ago, but back
Oh,
at the time of the witch trials. And Danvers, Massachusetts is 10, 12 miles away from Marblehead.
oh wow.
So it's there. It's North Shore,
Yeah,
North Shore,
it's
Massachusetts,
beautiful up around there. Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. Yay! I love
of which
synchronicity.
I just decided. And so, Mom, if you're listening, she's heard this, but their 50th anniversary is coming up at the
Oh,
beginning of the next month. And with us moving, it sounds like I'm a, geez, why are you thinking you wouldn't be going? Now it doesn't even make sense to say that, but I hadn't connected the two with why don't you go visit the family during their anniversary? But I looked at the calendar, I saw anniversary coming up, and I said, Jessica, I want to book a ticket right away. I want to go there for their anniversary.
oh,
So
fun.
I will be back in the Marblehead area, but that is an example of taking the time, of being present, of making the time for myself and for others.
Mm-hmm. It's
Love you,
important.
Mom and Dad.
Yay! So that's all I have. That was fun.
That's all I have as well. So for everyone out there, although Marianne, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're listening to this, we are so excited for the opportunity to stay at your beautiful home. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou.
saying, be well, have fun, play, 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 and play some more, and shine bright.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.